Welcome to Decoding the New Economy. Today I'm joined by Matt Cooper, the International Business Development VP for Business Development for oDesk, and Matt's in Australia with some really interesting projects and to explain what oDesk is really about. Matt, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so to kick off, let's explain what oDesk does.
Yeah, so oDesk is the world's largest online workplace. So companies can come to oDesk and use our platform to hire, manage, and pay freelance professionals all over the world to do pretty much any kind of work that can be done in front of a computer.
Right. And what sort of verticals are you looking at there?
There's a pretty wide range of work being done. About 40% of the hours worked and 60% of the dollars earned are technical in nature. So
right.
Software development, web development, mobile, IT. The remainder is a long tail of non-technical work. So a lot of data entry, customer service, marketing, SEO, SEM, content writing, translation, finance, legal. So again, if it can be done in front of a computer, somebody's doing it on oDesk today.
Right. And is this just big companies or small companies as well?
Most of our clients tend to be small businesses. So startups, entrepreneurs, smaller entities, but we're seeing increased interest and demand from the larger enterprises as well.
Right. And which verticals do you mainly look at?
It really runs the gamut. So you name it. I think because of the traditional focus or traditional adoption by startups, we definitely tend to be tech-centric, but there are a lot of mom-and-pop companies all over the world using oDesk.
Now, oDesk has a really interesting background on how it came about. Could you fill us in on that, Matt?
Yeah, so we were founded by two buddies from Greece. One was living in San Jose, working on his second startup, and the other was living in Athens, and they wanted to work together. And the CEO of Odysseus, who was living in San Jose, his CEO said, "Sorry, you can't hire your buddy in Greece. How do we know what he's doing?"
Yeah.
So they actually developed the first version of our software to make it easier for strategists to work for this company in San Jose. They realized they had a pretty cool platform, and then it morphed into our current business model over time.
Right. Now, for businesses that are looking at outsourcing these sort of works, it seems to me there's a various set of skills in project management and that how do you recommend that businesses approach this?
Yeah, managing an online distributed workforce is different than managing locally. You have to be much more specific. You've got to document your expectations. You have to make the investment in getting your team, actually whether they're local or remote, you've got to make the investment up front to get them up to speed. But in terms of getting started, you got to be very clear about what you want in your job post. You need to go through the traditional interviewing process. You can't just throw it over the wall and hope it comes back.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the major advantages of online work is you can try before you buy.
Yeah.
I always recommend if you need one person, hire three and keep one.
Right.
Create a very small, very discrete project that closely replicates the long-term role that you want, and actually see how they perform.
Yeah.
We all know interviews are a terrible predictor of future success.
Sure.
So actually seeing them in the seat doing the work, that's ultimately going to be the best indicator.
Now, you've got a bunch of tracking tools tied into oDesk that let you track how the contractors are going. How do they work?
Yeah, the number one question we hear when we talk to new customers is, how can I really be certain that my work is being done by this person, either sitting on the other side of the country or on the other side of the world? And so we provide a series of tools to give you a lot of visibility to the work being done. You can actually track what the individual is doing down to the 10-minute increment and see what's going on their computer, see what they're working on, see task codes and work diaries, so that you have a much greater level of visibility into the work being performed than you would with someone sitting on the other side of the office.
Yeah. Now, while you're here in Australia, Matt, you've announced an initiative with the startup community. Would you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so we're announcing a partnership with StartMate and AngelCube and Polymizer.
Right.
So StartMate and Polymizer in Sydney and AngelCube in Melbourne. The startup community has always been a strong source of clients for oDesk. And as we look at Australia is a fantastic market for us. Startups tend to be the early adopters, the other people, other companies look to for innovation and ideas.
Yeah.
And so having met a lot of these organizations during a trip earlier in the year, we cultivated the relationships and sort of laid out this program over the last couple of months, and we're launching it this week.
Yeah, so that sounds a really exciting program then. So how big is Australia for oDesk?
It's actually, in terms of penetration rate, it's our number one market. So
Right.
It's our number two market in terms of total dollars earned or
Okay.
total dollars spent. But on a per capita basis, we actually, 2.5%, so 53,000 businesses, 2.5% of all Australian businesses are currently registered on oDesk, which is about twice the penetration rate we see in our home country.
Right, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And which verticals in Australia do you see as being?
I think it's the demand in Australia is aligns well with where the talent shortage is. So there's
Right.
a lot of demand for development work, design work, kind of that e-commerce startup technology demand, a lot of customer service. There are definitely, you look globally, there are very acute shortages in certain geographic areas around
Right.
certain skills, and I think that's reflective in the type of work being done by Australian clients.
Yeah, so where do you see oDesk going in the next 5 years?
I think there's a couple logical growth paths. I mentioned sort of that long tail of work being done and the types of skills. So I think we'll see new skills come onto the marketplace. We'll see increasing liquidity and depth within this longer tail of skills.
Right.
We're going to see continued expansion in international markets. We expect Australia to continue to grow along with other international markets for us. We're also seeing increased demand from enterprise companies.
Right.
So of the 600,000 clients using oDesk, we're seeing, that has traditionally been small business entrepreneurs, startups, but we're seeing a lot of demand from the enterprise companies. They're trying to figure out how to use this new model and put it to work for them.
And that's an interesting challenge for a lot of those existing outsourcing companies. Can you see yourself replacing those down the track?
I think in many cases, the clients want a much more direct relationship with the people doing the work.
Yeah.
One of the challenges with traditional outsourcing is it's this telephone game, and you've got
Sure.
multiple players and multiple layers between the client and the person actually doing the work. The beauty of online work is it gives you a lot of the flexibility and scalability and cost efficiency of outsourcing, but you've got a lot more visibility into who's doing the work, what they're doing. You've got more control over the end product.
Right. Now, it's a pretty crowded market too, the remote working. You've got companies like Freelancer now. How do you see all of these competitors popping into the market?
oDesk is the dominant player in the market. We account for over half of all work being done in the online workspace. That said, the opportunity here isn't quibbling over who has the biggest slice of the pie. It's let's make the pie bigger. So the real opportunity for us is making online work a much more mainstream way of getting things done. We want companies from the one-man company working from his apartment all the way up to the largest enterprises thinking of online work and thinking of oDesk as just another option of how they might meet their talent demands.
Well, thank you very much for joining Decoding the Economy.
Great, thanks for having me.
Thank you.